Why are you pursuing the leadership role within the Georgia Cyber Academy? I'm pursuing a leadership role in hopes that I can be an integral part of the day-to-day mission and long-term vision of an online learning platform, in hopes to help students, staff, parents, and community understand that the technologically advanced online learning platform is accessible to students that might not have access or equitable practices being offered in their current mainstream classroom. And I think that's an exciting adventure and platform to learn from. Question number 2. What do you identify as potential challenges of leading? I think number 1, my age. I'm only 33 years old, and I might be deemed incapable or inexperienced by some of my colleagues, especially those that might be a little bit older than me. To negate this, I would really try to get to know them on a personal level while establishing professional boundaries and letting them know that I'm here to learn with them side by side as someone who is going to fail in front of them and point out my mistakes, and hopefully that will help me develop rapport. Question number 3, as a new leader to the school, how would you build relationships with your team? What steps do you plan to take, and what challenges do you envision? So once again, my age will probably come up as a red flag. I hope to be able to share some of my leadership experiences that I've had in the past. In the past 10 years, I've served on a number of committees. I have coached. I've coached at the high school level. I've taught K-8 music. I've been in the special education resource room and behavioral disorder room. I've worn a lot of hats over the past 10 years, and hopefully I can use some of those strengths to find commonalities within my staff that might promote rapport. I also think the implementation of meaningful and engaging professional development opportunities, ones that might be voted on or even implemented by the staff, can really help buy in to the protocols and the decisions that a new administrator might make. Describe your leadership style. I am an influencer and shaper of school culture based on two-way respect, collaboration, and accountability. As a classroom teacher, I do a lot of focus on character development, and that would be something that I would do with my staff as well. Knowing that we are making these decisions, we are making these decisions and going to work every single day, not for ourselves, but for the betterment of our community, and really specifically for the interests of our students. How do you balance your personal and professional obligations? How do you encourage your team to find balance? Well, as a somewhat new parent, I'm really finding out what time management is all about. And in my early years, when I didn't have as many professional responsibilities, I missed deadlines, and I didn't really understand the importance of turning things in on time. It's still something that I think is a professional development goal for me every single year, and I am getting better and better at it. And I think it's something that's going to keep me on my toes as I transfer from the teacher role to the administrator role, who might not be enforcing deadlines, but receiving deadlines from the district or from a higher source. What do you see as your greatest professional strengths? What do you consider to be your areas of development? Well, I think the relationships that I've formed with my colleagues and my students and my parent community would tell to my strengths as a teacher. I've like I mentioned before, I have served as a leader in a multitude of educational environments, and it's allowed me to kind of get a very diverse perspective of everything that can go right and wrong within a classroom. And I've learned not to place blame. I've learned that almost everybody is in this educational race to the top because they have the best interests of their students in mind. And I think sometimes when you have conflict with a parent, it might end up being that they just need to have their voice heard. And I think that's really important, the face-to-face component, and just realizing that everybody has the best interests of the child at heart. As a leader, identify an example or identify an employee who is struggling. What are the next steps you would take to support the employee? Well, I think when you listen and you respond rather than listen and react, staff members would be much more open to your feedback. I think if they know that you have their best interests in mind, that they can feel comfortable sharing what might be the root of their problem or the root of the thing that is keeping them from being the best teacher that they can be. I think reaching out to their colleagues and kind of facilitating that might be another step, since if I'm in an administrative position, they might not be as open with me as they would with their colleagues. And I really think when it comes down to it, just letting them know that you care and that you are there in any way possible to help out at the building level, at the grade level, at the school site level, and even at the district level with programs that might be available for them. Tell us about a time that you dealt with an angry, challenging parent. In my classroom, I've always placed an intentional focus on accountability, and I've had parents feel confused or even that my homework signature policy might have been a little bit demanding. And it was set up to help the parents understand that school does not end when you go home. Even though we all have different and varying lives, we should at least be checking in with our children each night or most nights about how school was, and checking in to see if they do have anything to complete away from school so they can keep that candle lit while they are off campus, if you will. And there was a parent who was kind of confused about the purpose and the scope of the signatures. So we talked on the phone, and I realized that he just had misinformation passed on from his son. So I invited him into the classroom, kind of showed him how we check in every single day. And he realized that it was that first little feeling of success related to a signature that drove his son to have successful days and make good choices. So once again, just that face-to-face interaction, I think, was really, really important in helping the parent understand the purpose and the scope of something as simple as a parent signature each night. You have two employees who are not getting along. How would you handle the situation? Well, I think with conflict resolution, letting everybody know involved that we are there for the same purpose. We are there to hash out our details, find commonalities, and see if we can get everything back on track for the best interests of the students. Not everybody's going to feel happy at the end of a conflict resolution, but I think as long as you can kind of establish norms at the beginning of it and let people know that you and the other people involved are caring to confront for a reason, and that you might expect and accept non-closure, and that's okay, as long as we are trying to make compromise. And if compromise can't be reached, then we might have to go to another form of conflict management. In the end, it is all about the kids, and we try to make the best decisions based on their interests. Tell us what collaboration means to you. Well, collaboration is an integral part of any platform that is looking to succeed, and education is no different in that matter. And I actually, for my first 4 to 5 years when I was teaching third grade at a private school, I was in my own classroom as the only teacher in third grade, and I truly did not understand what collaboration meant. I taught the same lesson year after year. I didn't really have to answer to anybody except myself and maybe my learning specialist and my principal. And when I got to the public school learning platform, I realized that it really does take a village, if you will, to lean on each other's strengths, to recognize each other's weaknesses, and to really care enough to confront each other when we think we might be veering from what is best for the children. And as an administrator, I think it's really getting your staff to buy in and understand that we are all here for the common good, that the teachers' roles are expanding every year. There's more and more on their plate. And the more we collaborate, the more perspective we can get on a complex situation. And that is what helps us make the right decisions and make a push towards progress. What ideas do you have to enhance change for our current virtual program? Well, I think technology-based programs are the future, and I was noticing when I was looking at your website that there was a lack of informational text access, and I have a learning platform called getepic.com that would help some of those identified struggling readers to enjoy more informational text. I noticed it was not a approved learning program within your district, so the first step that I would do is kind of present to them some of the benefits that it could provide on the online learning platform. Like I said, for some of those struggling readers, to try to close the gap that we might see in state testing. Also, just to develop a love for reading, because I know on the online platform it's not always easy to access books and excuse me, that might be. It's not always easy to access books that might be accessible to learners of all levels, and in this case, informational text. So I think that would really benefit your program. As a leader, how would you impact student achievement? Well, I think number one, just being at the forefront, being in the classroom, showing students and teachers and parents that you care. Incentive programs have always worked in my experience. I think another important aspect of student achievement is celebrating their success. So something like a student assembly that celebrates success could be incredibly important, not only for small accomplishments, but for big ones as well. How would your current colleagues say about you? What would your most recent manager say about you? Well, I know they would say that I'm high energy, that I'm generous with my time and my efforts. I like to kind of get my nose in everything and see if I can help out in any way. One thing that my administrators might say is that they've given me a lot of leadership opportunities, and that I've been able to fill those leadership roles, some better than others. But not for a lack of effort. I'm trying to really get find my groove as I'm transitioning from teacher to administrator in terms of time management, and I know that's one thing that they would say I might need to work on. Tell us about the most recent reading you have done that has improved your work. Well, I'm currently in Eastern Washington's Principal Certification Program, and I wrote a paper called The Principal's Many Roles, and it's truly opened my eyes to how thin a principal or an administrator or even a teacher can get stretched in terms of all the responsibilities that might fall on their plate from day to day, from week to week, to year. And I'm just really excited to kind of put those plans into action when I become an administrator.